Okay, today's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to do some food and some economics, two things that I love. And I see a lot of stuff on TV where they talk about, chefs talk about, just cook stuff yourself, don't buy processed food, it's healthier, it tastes better. True on both of those, and it's cheaper. And it's the last one I've got a bit of a problem with because I don't seem to be able to make it cheaper. Take this for example. Lasagna feeds a family of four, £5. If I now go to the recipe section, I'm using Tesco's just because it's a great website. There's no comment on Tesco's. Shop for the ingredients, do a similar sort of thing. I'm seeing I'm at £24 at the moment to make my lasagna for four. In fact, I think it's for six, but ridiculous price, obviously, because this has got a few other bits and pieces in it. I'm going to buy some wine there, which I obviously don't need, so if I get rid of the wine. If I get rid of some of the sort of overheads, as we would call them in business, stuff that I'm going to be able to use again, and I'm going to really, an indirect cost, like my puree, I'll use some of that again. Worcester sauce, I'll use some of that again. Flour, arguably, I'll use some of that again. Tomatoes, though, I'm going to use all of those. The cheese, I'm going to use all. I've got two different types of cheese. Simplify that. I'm just going to have one type of cheese. Butter, I'm going to use some of that again. I'll get rid of that. Milk, I'm going to use all of that. Carrots, celery, onions, I'm going to use all of that. Garlic, I'll use all of that. Two different types of meat. Yeah, meat's expensive. Let's get rid of one of those. I've reduced the size of it now a little bit as well. And stock, £1.50 for the fancy stock. I'll just use a cube. So I'll give it some of that. I'm down to £10. So I'm still spending £10 to produce my meal rather than the sort of £5 to buy it. The big problem with this, of course, is that these things like the meat here and also these vegetables. Again, there might be cheaper ways of doing it if I buy them in bulk, assuming I'm going to be cooking for a few days with similar sorts of veg. Not much I can do about the cheese. I can't, I'm going to use all of that in my meal, I'm guessing, pretty much so anyway. So, with a lasagna, it's clearly cheaper to purchase them. And a lot of the problem comes in the purchasing of the meat. If we try something else, another favourite of mine, cottage pie, lovely. £3.50 for a family of four again. If I try and make it, what am I up to this time? Let's have a little look. If I try and make it, this is for six instead of four, so it's a little bit too big, if you like. But I'm up to £14 now. Marvellous. If I try and get rid of some of this, let's not have any bay leaf. That's a bit posh, isn't it? Stock cubes 50p this time. I've got sensible ones. I can use those in my lasagna. What else can we get rid of here? Get rid of the puree again. But I'm going to need the tomatoes. I'm going to use all of those. Get rid of the butter because I'm going to use that again. I'm going to need the celery. I probably might be able to get that a little bit cheaper if I don't have quite so much celery. Garlic, I'm going to use some of that again, I guess. So maybe I'll get rid of the garlic, just to be fair. Potatoes, £2. Might be able to buy some frozen mash for about £1, I think that is. So I'll get rid of that, just to be helpful. But I'm still stuck on, on around about the £8.40 because I'm paying about £3 for the meat again. So the meat is a big part of what I'm purchasing here and a big part of what the cost is. So, try something else. Let's go Italian. £5 feeds four for chicken and tomato pasta bake. The only one I could find on Tesco's site had chorizo in it as well or something, so we'll get rid of that. But let's have a look at the ingredients again. £16 this time. Let's get rid of some of this. Where's the chorizo to? So if we get rid of the chorizo, we're just going to have chicken in ours. We get rid of something else here. We're going to use again the dried oregano. Let's assume we got some of that in the cupboard. Basil's a bit posh. Let's just get rid of that. We got a couple different types of cheeses going on here. Let's get rid of the most expensive cheese. But we're going to use all the tomatoes. We've got Tesco's finest cherry tomatoes. Well, let's get rid of those as well. Just stick with a tin of chopped tomatoes, some cheese, some garlic, some chicken, and some pasta. That's about the minimum you can have for pasta with chicken and cheese. £8.65. Problem with this, of course, is that 9 times out of 10 with these type of things, it's the meat that's costing us the most money. Even when we exclude all those things, we can say, oh, we got that in the store cup, got this. You're still paying about £3, £4, £5 each time for the meat, and that's pretty much what the ready meals cost. And of course, this is because those companies are able to do things with massive economies of scale. When I cook a meal, I'm having to purchase all the individual items and their packaging and their advertising and someone to stack them on a shelf and all that stuff. Whereas, of course, the company does it in big bulk. I'd much rather eat home cooked food. But could we please get away on TV from this kind of patronizing people telling them it's much cheaper to make your own food and healthier as well? Yes, it is if you're talking about a baked potato rather than buying one of those frozen pre-prepared baked potatoes. But when it comes to meals like pizzas, pastas, lasagnas, cottage pies, fish pies, steak pies, those sorts of things, I'm afraid 9 times out of 10, if not more, it's actually cheaper to buy the processed one. And that can't be right in terms of the country's health. So it's a big call out there really to chefs and everybody else. Can we have some proper conversations about this? Not this idea that we have store cupboards full of herbs and spices that we can just call on, or little gardens outside we can pluck lettuces from. Let's have a proper look at this and find a way we can all eat a little bit more healthily. I won't talk any more about food. Everything else, we're back to boring economics. But there you go, a little insight into my life. By the way, I'm not a very good cook. I'm very fortunate I live with a woman who's a wonderful cook. And I only do this occasionally. I probably should do it much more often. And when I do it, of course, I just turn it into an economics problem like everything else. So thanks for listening, and enjoy your home-cooked food, even if it is slightly more expensive.